This is a tip for the busy gardener that comes home from work and really doesn't want to do much fertilizing or watering. But there are products out on the market that you can get to help you out fertilize without really having to put too much effort, and it mixes it perfectly for you. Here's one, and this is the top part of it. It's a bucket that you put your fertilizer in, and you insert the tubes for it. It then goes in through a long hose and connects to your gardening hose. For instance, this is you put on your faucet, this end, it goes through, and you put your hose here. So with the fertilizer inside your tank, it will automatically go down, put the right concentration of fertilizer in as you water your plants, your flowers, or your grass, or whatever. This system also can be hooked up to your irrigation system permanently by using a couple special adapters. This is a 3/4 inch to garden hose adapter. Now this is quite different than the adapter that you have for regular pipes. So this is a regular pipe thread for plumbing. This is for a garden hose. So the thread's a little bit thicker. You can see the difference between the two. Put it on here. This is in. This comes from your valve, goes into your adapter, goes into the injector, and this goes out. This would be like, say, your hose itself. If you take a look at this, it has a ring gasket inside there, so it makes it perfectly seal. This is a perfect application for doing it in a watering system. This then will be connected out. That will go then to your sprinklers or to your leak hoses. Now, I have to warn you one thing about leak hoses when it comes to this kind of fertilization. If you have a lot of fertilizer, a lot of it would be salt. For instance, if you use a high nitrogen water-soluble fertilizer, a lot of the nitrogen will then turn into salt and plug up your holes inside your drip system. So what you need to do is you need to be aware of where you're putting your fertilizer from this system, and probably replace the leak hoses that you have out in the yard for plants that are being used with this system. It'll just plug up and it'll turn into salt. And you can tell by that by looking at the outside of the tube of the leak hose, and it generally turns white. It looks like literally like salt. It's not salt as table salt, but it's salt that is produced by fertilizers. Okay? Now, next, what you do also have on here is an adjustment of how much fertilizer you want. You can take a look at this. You can say it's a slow release, or you can turn it to a higher release. So you turn it to a higher release, it gives more water, it gives more fertilizer at a time. The way this particular system works is actually quite ingenious and actually interesting how it works. Water comes from the spigot, goes through the hose, and into a sprayer-like thing that mixes all the fluids and fertilizer inside the bucket. It then also goes into a screen mesh that filters out any type of things that shouldn't have gone into the system anyway in the first place, and then goes out. You can adjust the entire top of how much flow of fertilizer you want by the indicator on the top. The type of fertilizer that you need for this application has to be water soluble. There's a variety of things that you can use. You can use synthetic, or you can use natural type of fertilizers. Some of the fertilizers that I use, and I have over here, one is fish emulsion. You can use fish emulsion. I generally do about maybe 5 or 6 capfuls into the entire 1 gallon bucket. I also have liquefied seaweed, and I generally take about, again, 5 or 6 capfuls of these and put it inside the 1 gallon jar. The most popular one would be, of course, last but not least, would be kelp. Got kelp over here. Now, unfortunately, kelp itself is not a good candidate. You would do the seaweed, liquefied seaweed that would mix in there. But kelp itself, if you take a look at kelp itself, you can see that it's a really dried seaweed, which really gives a lot of trouble because it doesn't get through the small pores of the screen that's going into the water injector. Here is how you connect your injector. When using liquefied kelp, it's best to shake the bottle to make sure that all the ingredients are mixed around before putting it into the 1-gallon bucket. I generally use about 5 or 6 or 7 maybe sometimes of capfuls of liquid kelp in my bucket per week or every other week, depending on what my application is. You can determine what your application is by really watching what your flowers are growing, what your plants are growing every week, and then make the adjustments appropriately. After you put the fertilizer inside your container, you'll notice that it's only partially filled. When the cap is screwed on and the whole system is plugged into the watering and the water is turned on, then the rest of it fills up. The entire container fills up with water, mixes with the fertilizer, and then it is set to the right concentration for watering your plants. To operate the watering system, point your hose at the plant that you want to water, turn on the water, and the injector will put the predetermined amount of fertilizer into the water for your plant. When installing the injector permanently into an irrigation system, it is important to have the right couplers. The type of fitters that you're needed are ones for hose clamps in this particular application and not for regular threaded pipe. You can see that it has a rubber grommet inside there to make a correct seal, and it goes together like 2 hoses would normally go together. A hose thread is a little bit thicker and a little coarse than a regular pipe thread. So when unthreading it, you can see the difference compared between on the right a pipe thread, on the left it would be a hose thread. We use the hose thread to screw in both sides of the injector to put it permanently into our watering system. Each end of the PVC pipe then gets glued to the watering system. Here I have installed 2 injectors, one for each valve. The injector tank operates the same way for a faucet or is for a permanent fixture inside of an irrigation system. You just simply move the lever to slow or fast. While watering your plants with a garden hose, there's a couple methods I'd like to show you that you can use to give a different type of spray to your plants. One is you can use your index finger and put it in front of the opening of the hose, and that gives you a particular type of streaming, forceful, probably long distance shoot of your water, while you can use your thumb putting in front to give it more of a fan spray, more of a gentle type of misting toward the plants. Those were used for more delicate plants that you didn't want to be damaged by watering. By covering part of the opening of the hose with your thumb, you can give a gentle fan spray to these coral bells. Recently, I installed this gadget that remotely controls my valves. Here, station number 9 has my injected fertilizer. I can sit back, turn on my watering system, and relax.